Do you know your chipolata from your Cumberland or your Airedale from your Edam? Well, this next man does. In fact, he just answered yes as I'm asked the question. Alex James has gone from being the bass guitarist with Blur to a well-established foodie, it's fair to say. He's here now to tell us about a new campaign to raise awareness amongst kids about where our food comes from. Alex, lovely to see you. Tell us about the campaign. It's all to do with Red Tractor.
It's Red Tractor Week this week. So Red Tractor Week is Britain's biggest food assurance scheme, linking like 88,000 British farms and farming enterprises. So you know that when you see that logo on pack, you're buying food from a British farm. People keen to buy British. Britain obviously has some of the highest farming standards in the world, and so really just flagging that.
We mentioned just before we went to our break that some people think that cheese comes from vegetables,
yeah, well,
and this kind of thing. So you've got your work cut out.
Research conducted for Red Tractor Week shows that, you know, with just ridiculous things like, yeah, people think 7% of people think broccoli grows underground, and
potatoes grow above ground in a bush or a tree, which obviously don't.
Yeah, right. And actually, because the school curriculum has changed and children are now being taught more about food and where it comes from at school, because it wasn't on the agenda at all when I was at school. But kids now know more about it than their parents.
Because you've been visiting school kids today, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, great. I mean, it's really their skill levels are amazing. Eight-year-old kids using really sharp knives, cooking quite a tasty risotto. But, you know, I think Britain has become sort of gourmandised over the last 10 years. You know, British chefs more famous internationally now than British rock stars, and probably more exciting. And as a result of that, we are sort of starting to enjoy our food more. You know, food shows, big shows on telly now.
Well, arguably, you're more famous now for making cheese than playing bass guitar in Blur. But the thing is, when people talk about the provenance of food and buying British, the inevitable worry is that it's going to be more expensive. Is that the case?
No, not necessarily. You know, I mean, I think, you know, in France, everyone eats like a king. They're prepared to. A French person picks up a chicken, doesn't say how much is this chicken, says how nice is it? How nice is this chicken? You know, I think we do tend to buy food on price, and often it's worth spending a few pennies more for something that's much better.
Meat is obviously a big talking point when it comes to where it comes from. We had the horse meat scandal, obviously. 10 years' time, we could be eating burgers that have been made in a petri dish. Is that something that concerns you?
You know, insects, they're saying, is a big source of nutrients.
Because meat is expensive. More of the world wants to eat it, of course.
Yeah, but I think, I don't know about petri dish burgers, though. Nice jacket potato will do me.
Yeah, which we can grow here, of course.
Well, I grew a whole load of potatoes this year, and at the festival that we have at the farm a couple of weeks ago, kids were sort of digging them up out of the ground, and it's amazing just to see the look of joy on people's faces when you actually find you know, you forget that it's quite a magical thing, food growing.
It's great to hear that you're so conscious about it these days. I know when you were in the days of Blur, you sort of consumed something like £1 million worth of champagne, it was said at the time. Easily done, of course. 20 years ago this year that Park Life broke through. We're seeing it there. I mean, can you believe, well, where's the time gone for a start? And what does it feel like when you see that video now?
And I was going to do an interview a couple of weeks ago, and on the way in somebody said, what are you doing? I said, oh, it's 10 years since Britpop. And I got inside, I found it's 20 years. So, yeah. Well, that flew by, didn't it?
Obviously, it was a good time. You've forgotten it already.
No, not at all. I mean, you know, it was a very different time. I think, you know, food is sort of the new rock and roll, really.
Good.
I think.
Good to hear, Alex. Thank you very much indeed for coming, and really good to see you.
Great to see you, Matt.